I don't know on there. We're live.
You're live.
Okay. I don't have any reflections on what we have heard so far in testimony, although I will say that I've been grateful for the introductions and the refreshers myself, even though this is my third term. I think rather what I'll start with is just a little bit of background information about myself and what is exciting to me about working the land and agriculture in general, but I've been farming for over a decade. I started right after college on a really large, diversified organic vegetable farm out in California. But I am originally from Randolph, Vermont, and I decided 2 years into that I should move home and start farming. So I have been farming in Vermont since 24, and I am deeply in love and moved by the local food system and the way that it intersects with really good environmental practices. So I think the energy that I try to bring into this committee is how can we get people excited about farming in the ways that they used to be. I think that people tend to forget just how critical the work is and how deeply woven it is into Vermont's history. I think it's something that we look at as like, this is an older generation, and I think that I want to work to really merge the generations in a way that gets people excited about something that is so deeply dear to my heart. And some of the policies that I am working on are generational land transfers. I think over the next decade, Vermont is going to be facing a really big challenge about when those older farmers decide they want to retire, and if they don't have a younger generation who's looking to get involved in that field, what's going to happen with those massive tracts of land if they don't have kids who want to take it over or grandkids, and how can we connect some of those younger farmers who are coming out of college, who are looking at it as an alternative industry to get into, and what is our role as a state to help make those links happen? So I have been thinking about that myself as a young farmer who has struggled to buy land. I farm on a cooperative tract of land right now where there are 3 other farms that we all share and work together, and I know that I one day would love my own farm, but that's really challenging. And a lot of us who are doing operations at my scale don't need 200, 300, 400 acre farms. We need 50 acres. So how can we look at really creative models of land ownership and access? So that's something that I'm very excited about. And then I think something that I would really love our community to talk about is, I think people tend to think farming, big industry, impacts on water quality or challenges that are not really looking at agriculture in a way that's actually like really powerful for climate change mitigation strategies. Agriculture has such a role if we're doing it well and we're doing it beautifully to actually really make a profound difference on some of the impacts that I think folks tend to associate with our industry. So that's kind of the lens that I'm viewing it through. I would love to have those conversations more. I would really love people to look at agriculture and get excited about what it means for our local economies, for our rural economies, for our small communities, for kids coming out of school who want to get into a trade. I want them to think that this can be viable and lucrative in the ways that I know that it can be. So that is what excites me about this work. That is why I love this committee. And I am looking forward to hearing your perspectives on that. And your own.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we, I guess what I'm going to suggest is that we'll go around the room. John, you can go next if you're okay with that. And you're welcome.
I can follow that.
Yeah, I know. No, there's no way I was going to go next.
You're gonna adjourn this.
We're gonna go home and work on our soliloquies.
Internal comms.
Passion runs deep.
Yeah.
It doesn't work in or the land.
Yeah, it does.
I think part of what you're suggesting, you would like to have happen over the course of the next few months anyways, that we have conversations about the things that we're all passionate about. So we should commit to making some time available for those conversations. And if we get around the table quickly and have time today, we can even do that now. In any case.
I second Heather said. I mean, it's interesting. Like every day here, it seems like what's great about this committee and what's frustrating is that we have, you know, all the talent and the resources here to make farming, you know, thrive or the forest economy. And it's unfortunately, right, global economies, you know, opponents on one side or the other make it so hard. But it's that like Vermont itself has, you know, it's a place where things naturally grow great. And so, but as lawmakers, lawmakers, I feel frustrated in that there's not a lot we can do. I mean, we don't have a lot of money, so that whole question of incentivizing is really hard for us because we're a small state with a relatively small amount of revenue coming in. And we're lawmakers, so we can, you know, ban things or make things maybe legal, like going chicken drumsticks, you know, but big changes are really hard. But I love that conversation if there's something we can do along those lines. And we're also, I mean, it's good, we're sort of small and forward thinking, so we can, in some ways, be a pioneer of some sort and lead either the United States or, you know, potentially the world on something really interesting with food, farming, and forest policy.
Yeah, this committee, I think we heard this, somebody came in and was talking about the GMO labeling
Right,
work
yeah.
that the legislature passed, it was a decade ago, maybe.
For that, yeah.
Yeah, and the Ag Committee led that effort. It was, you know, it took a while to get it through. And of course, the national
Yeah, immediately,
Companies.
the feds, yeah.
yes stepped in, but if you remember that there actually were changes on Campbell's soup and on M&Ms and
Yeah,
you know, regardless of how you feel about that issue, Vermont actually, this committee
yeah.
had that impact. So yeah, good. Okay. Well, let's see. I should ask, is Michelle or is Greg?
Michelle's here.
Hang on one second. Oops.
I have a question. I'm looking.
I'm trying to find, whoops.
We heard you say that, Michelle.
I'm trying to find my button. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Just a minute. Can you hear me right now or no?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. So, and
Okay, all right.
if it's easier, you don't have to be on video if you just want to.
Okay, I can't even see the button right now. Oh, here, now I can.
There you are.
Okay, so I can check in briefly. I might get interrupted at any time, but I appreciate hearing hearing people's thoughts, and I'll chime mine in while I'm able. So in terms of my background, kind of in the way that Heather did, I'll just give a little bit of sort of my own interest in serving on this committee. I'm particularly interested in produce and particularly organic agriculture and food, and how food connects to helping people and communities be healthy. So I personally am not a professional farmer or anything along those lines, but I do have a really extensive garden, and I really enjoy growing food and
Oh, just muted yourself somehow.
is it going now?
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it's strange. On my screen, I can't see anything, but that's fine. If it's going through, it's fine. Yeah, so I want to make sure that Vermont continues to have a range of farmers able to grow food and share food that shows up at farmers markets, that people can incorporate into their diets, you know, partly as a lifestyle issue, but also just as a health issue. You know, it doesn't make sense that we're, you know, shipping carrots from California to eat in Vermont when we can grow carrots in Vermont. You know, I like the idea of local food systems, and I think it's healthy for communities and it's healthy for people. And I'm also really interested in getting good food to people. So I love that we did the Universal School Meals Bill. And I like the idea of thinking of how else we can expand good food to various populations. You know, the conversation we had yesterday, somebody mentioned about having cooked meals in restaurants that are available to people that have 3 squares, something like that. I think thinking creatively about how we can get good food to vulnerable people is something that really interests me. And I would say also sort of the animal side of things. While I'm actually a vegetarian, I don't eat animals, but I do care about welfare of animals. And so like, I'm actually really interested in, you know, what kind of condition the chickens are kept in when they lay eggs. And we have a bill on the wall about that. So some of that is of interest to me as well. So I would say I don't have any particular bills in mind to put forth this year. Although I think everyone knows last year I did actually pass a bill through the Agriculture Committee, but no new state symbol coming through the Agriculture Committee from me this year, although I really enjoyed the time helping to educate the committee and you know, and Vermonters about mushrooms and that whole process. So I think that's probably good for me for now.
Okay, good. Thanks very much for joining. Richard.
Oh, jeez, got enough time?
Yeah.
I'm, like a lot of people, I'm, born and bred here, multiple generations. I'm a third generation farmer. My grandfather started farming during the Great Depression because he figured he could feed his family. And then my father upped it considerably. We're a large scale aggressive farm. I believe in the science. I believe in all the science stuff. I believe the science of IPM's integrated pest management. Unfortunately, I didn't know about the bill last year. I'd have been here testifying. So be it. But I believe in also the way things were done before. I believe in how Heather farms. I believe in how everybody farms. Anything to do with working land, soil, timber harvest, old growth forest, working the land. You know, I believe I'm charged with feeding the world. We are charged with ensuring that the world is fed and housed and clothed and everything that we do. And anything that comes from this committee ought to be working towards that goal. And not all sizes fits everything, you know. And yeah, John, farming sheep in Vermont is tough. Milking cows in Vermont is tough. Growing vegetables in Vermont can be tough. And there are great rewards when you overcome the tough. And so I'm very passionate about it. And I just, all of it. Everyone that's testified before so far, I enjoy all of it. I feel bad about the people that are in here at 1:30 because you hit that postprandial thing and it gets a little warm in here and you're like, I'm sitting right here and trying not to yawn. And it's not because their presentations are boring. It's just as it is. So I really enjoy.
It's a little more comfortable today. It was pretty warm yesterday.
Yeah, I'm a little overdressed, but everything, I've enjoyed it all. And I look forward to working for you, and I have a few bills that are going up. I don't know if you want to talk about those. No, we talk about them later. Yeah, good stuff. Thank you. I appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Durfee. You know, hearing from Heather, of course, you know, my emotions are not hidden deep within me, but on the first biennium, I grew up where you could work hard for a few months, and I mean really hard, buy 2 or 3 acres of land with what you save from those 3 months of work and start a futures, have a base. Whether you built a log cabin or whatever it was, everyone has a story. As soon as I started in this committee and met Heather, as may other younger farmers who wanted that opportunity
of ownership. So your issue of transition or access is very meaningful. I think it's meaningful for the future, for the feeding New England, feeding Vermonters, and as Michelle said. So that is in my ethos and value. And that's a tough responsibility. How do we fund that? But me specifically, I'm what I call out of the closet. I've been a lifelong logger. It's how I've made a living. It's how I've raised a family. It's how I have found purpose in my community and in my life, not just in working in the woods community, but the communities. And I'm passionate about it. I'm not arrogant. I'm not. I have experience and knowledge. But the heritage of Vermont, when it was forest and dairy or forest and farming for the first 190 years, for river mills and manufacturing, and then eventually recreation, ski and tourism sort of eclipsed some of the focus. I care terribly strongly about the sustainability, how I was able to go out and buy a used skidder for 8,000, and it launched me of 60 years of raising a family and supporting a family and interacting with my community in other forms of leadership, not just conservation or forestry. That those are much huger struggles for the younger generations of Vermonters, and that includes those who might want to take on the challenges of working in the woods and being a part of all the broad responsibilities as a forest steward that we have. So you will hear me be advocating for many issues regarding the sustainability and the value, critical value of working lands and working forests. So I'll leave it at that, but I second everything about, as Representative O'Brien said, how this gets funded and how we can have great ideas, but how we implement and actually make an impact. Those are challenges, but I'm with Michelle, with Heather, with all of you that feeding Vermont, you were very articulate, Richard, about your big picture, but we can make a better Vermont and a better world if with our responsibilities for this committee. I'm happy. At this stage in my life, it's very meaningful to be a leader or a active role in that goal. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys said it all.
Yeah.
As far as I'm not in the farm world. We left the farm when I was 4 years old. However, I've grown beef. We've had pigs. We've had chickens. I've had geese. We've had all the animals over the years, only just on a small scale. Back, I've had our small garden and that type of thing.
It all counts.
But I grew up, I live now in a very, and did all my life, a very rural area. And my neighbors are farmers. And the area that I represent, Grand Isle County, it's all farming. And it interests me. And I love being here with you guys. I really am enjoying it. And I'm certainly learning a lot every day. Well, I guess that's about it. You guys have pretty much said a lot of the things that were on my mind and my thoughts.
Thank you.
David, just before you go, and what I'm getting out of this too, and I don't think we've ever really done it in this committee, starting this early, but it'd be interesting for these discussions to potentially lead towards 1 or 2 or 3 committee bills because I think there's so much of common thinking here as far as our issues of farming, food and forestry.
Yeah.
It'd be sort of interesting to have bills come out of that, not in May, but
Yeah.
right now.
Yep. I want to, I'll say a few words and I know it's past 250, but I was asked to chair this committee 2 years ago without any experience. We have chickens and they're tap, 6 maple trees, but I was not a farmer or a forester or a logger. But the committee had been expanded to include food resiliency, and I had run a food co-op for 8 years. So I had that, claim to some nexus anyway with this rule. I have just, the remark you just made sums up a lot of my feelings about the committee over the past couple of years, that being able to listen to our witnesses, fellow members of the committee with their own, areas of expertise, fascinating. And, I think about the people who are involved in, farm workers, loggers, clerks at grocery stores, essential workers, the people that our committee touches, the areas our committee touches, for those who are doing that essential work to feed us. And, in the case of loggers, to maintain the Vermont that we know and love by, as we've been hearing, keeping the landscape from being developed, overrun. So I have a couple of things I'm going to be hoping to work on, one involving food insecurity. So we heard a little bit about yesterday. That also help farmers. I think that there are ways that we can expand, hopefully anyway, or at least look into ways that we can help feed ourselves. And the cottage foods that we brought up earlier today, those small home businesses that are, integral to our communities, not big corporate businesses, making sure that we're not unnecessarily keeping them from thriving. Thank you for taking
Yes.
notes.
I'll send them to you and
Yeah.
stuff.
I would like to add one thing. that I
Please.
thought.
Yeah.
I have worked in the woods also, not to the degree he has for sure, but I love that. I love it.
Yeah, I would say I get out hiking as often as I can, and that experience becomes more and more meaningful, having had the conversations that we have here, like the one we had today with the different forest types.
Yeah, you get out there and all of a sudden you're looking like, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll stop there. We